Look at you in a pink shirt and everything else. Oh, you're killing me.
There's something funny about the way brilliance hides itself.
Give me a chance to get a little bit of a head start.
Okay.
Not funny like a punchline. Funny like you watch someone for years, cringing at them, laughing at the secondhand embarrassment of just being near them. And then at some point, it hits you. This person has been doing something extraordinarily precise the entire time, and you missed it completely because they built the whole thing to be missed. If you've never watched Nathan Fielder before, you'd probably assume he's the dumbest person in the room.
I don't think that'll make top 40 radio.
That the music industry would never accept a song with a smoke detector in it.
He struggles through conversations like he's hearing English for the first time. He misses social cues that a child would catch instinctively. He makes people uncomfortable without appearing to register that he's done it, and the discomfort just sits there, unacknowledged, while Nathan stares slightly past whoever he's talking to like he's working something out in his head that has nothing to do with the conversation happening in front of him.
How do we get a pig to rescue a goat on camera? Answer, you can't.
At least that's what it looks like. Because the strange thing about Nathan Fielder is that the awkwardness never quite explains the outcomes.
Cool, what are you doing there? Oh, that's so funny. You drew the dick?
Yeah.
Cool, that's really funny. That's mega funny.
It explains the surface. It does nothing to explain why. Time after time, situations built entirely around his apparent incompetence and exactly where he seems to have wanted them to end. The character Nathan Fielder plays in front of a camera is built with total precision to look incompetent.
Let's put one and see what happens. We'll put comforting.
Playful. All right, yeah. So
The pauses run a beat or two longer than any pause should. The eye contact lands in the wrong place. Not avoidant exactly, but calibrated like someone working from an instruction manual rather than an instinct. The delivery is flat in a way that strips every sentence of its normal social texture so that even a simple greeting comes out sounding like it's being read off a card for the first time. Most performers who build comedy around intelligence want the intelligence to show. That's the product. The cleverness is the thing you're supposed to notice and admire. Nathan inverts that completely. He wants you to see someone lost. A grown man who somehow missed the day everyone else got handed the instructions for how to exist around other people. And audiences respond to that presentation exactly the way audiences are wired to respond. They lower the bar immediately. Nobody walks away from an early Nathan Fielder scene assuming they just watched the sharpest mind in the room quietly operating underneath all that fumbling. Also, if you enjoy these types of videos, make sure to subscribe for more.
Invite kids from all around the block to come and have a frozen yogurt eating contest.
okay, I would not go to that.
Which is the whole mechanism working precisely as designed, because people behave differently around someone they've already decided is harmless. That's not a small distinction, that's the entire foundation everything else gets built on top of. Watch enough episodes of Nathan For You and a pattern starts to surface that's easy to miss the first time through, mostly because the surface noise of the show is loud enough to cover it. The business ideas themselves are ridiculous. A coffee shop that becomes the cheapest in town through a rebate process so convoluted it borders on an endurance test. A moving company that lifts furniture using literal gym equipment instead of paying movers to do it the normal way.
Her boyfriend is looking at a hummingbird's penis and thinking that's huge. Yeah, this is good.
None of these should function as serious business strategies. None of them do function as serious business strategies, not in any conventional sense. But the actual subject of the show was never really the business idea itself. The subject was how precisely Nathan could predict what a real person would do once placed inside an absurd scenario. Every single episode opens with something ridiculous, and by the end of it, Nathan already seems to have known, well before the camera started rolling, exactly how far that person would bend, exactly what they tolerate before pushing back, and where the invisible line sat that nobody else standing in that room could see coming. The audience laughs because the premise is foolish, but the premise succeeding episode after episode, season after season, is evidence of something else entirely. It's evidence of someone who has studied human behavior with a level of patience most people never bother developing, because most people assume there's nothing worth studying in the small, mundane, occasionally humiliating moments where ordinary people reveal who they actually are.
We don't want any of our customers to get sick, but if they do, technically that's part of the artistic experience.
This is where the read on Nathan starts to genuinely shift. Most casual viewers assume Nathan accidentally creates these unbearable situations, that the discomfort filling the room is happening to him as much as it's happening around him, a byproduct of his own social limitations rather than something he's actively producing on purpose. Look closer and that reading falls apart fast. The awkwardness, almost without exception, benefits him. People rush to fill the silence he refuses to fill, because silence held that long becomes unbearable to absolutely everyone except the person holding it. People say more than they meant to say. People confess things, overshare things, expose things exactly the detail they walked into the conversation hoping to keep hidden, all because the room feels safe enough, or strange enough, that the usual filters stop applying.
I'd like to take this guy on a boat, and then once he's trapped at sea, teach him a lesson he'll never forget.
The person losing control of these scenes is rarely Nathan. It's almost always whoever is standing across from him, the person who assumed reasonably enough, given everything they were seeing, that they were dealing with someone too lost to be steering anything at all. And then there's the rehearsal, where the mask becomes almost impossible to keep believing in. At some point in his career, Nathan stopped making prank shows in any conventional sense and started constructing entire artificial realities instead. Full sets built from scratch, replicating real bars and real apartments, down to small material details most viewers would never even consciously register. Actors trained for weeks at a time to replicate the exact mannerisms of real people Nathan had studied. Conversations rehearsed dozens of times over with very plausible branch of every possible response mapped out in advance, the way a chess engine runs through variations before the actual game has even started. The scale of it stops making sense as anything resembling an accident. Entire warehouses repurposed to stimulate the inside of a single dive bar. Multiple actors cycling through the exact same role at a different stage of preparation, refining a performance that exists purely to ready one real person for a real 5-minute conversation that might happen only once.
Full disclosure, Herman is a sexual person, but he will not be touching your computer at any point.
The persona that for years read as a believable social deficiency suddenly reveals its own scaffolding. What looked for so long like authentic confusion starts to look like something engineered, built the way a structure is built, with intention behind every single beam. So what is Nathan Fielder actually doing? Because it's easy to watch his work and conclude that the joke is simply an awkward man stumbling through his life, but that reading misses almost everything that makes the work genuinely interesting. The intelligence was never hidden behind the awkwardness, sitting there quietly waiting for someone to notice it underneath. The awkwardness is the intelligence. It isn't a flaw he's covering up and hoping nobody examines too closely. It's the primary tool, the entire instrument the rest of the work depends on.
I like drinking my smoothie out of little cups on a tray. That's how I like to drink my smoothie.
Most people who understand something deeply want that understanding to register. It's almost involuntary. You figure something out and some part of you wants the room to know you were the one who figured it out. Nathan built his entire public identity around resisting that impulse completely, which is rarer than it sounds, because most performers who are this calculated eventually let a little of it show just to get credit for the work. Nathan never lets it show. He wants to appear harmless, and once people believe that, something predictable and almost universally human happens. They underestimate him.
It's one thing for Brian to track one of me, but let's see how he does with 9 of me.
They speak more freely than they should. They drop their guard the way you drop your guard around a child or a stranger you've quietly decided possesses no threat to you whatever. What separates Nathan from someone who's simply lucky or chaotic is the consistency underneath it. The character never accidentally becomes sharp in one scene and lost in the next.
I've never seen someone, a spam email, say like, do you want a 1-inch penis?
There's an internal logic running underneath every interaction, the same way there's an internal logic underneath Mr. Bean's confusion or Larry David's certainty that he's the only reasonable person in the room. And what makes it genuinely impressive rather than just clever is how often the chaos that follows isn't really chaos at all. It's the predictable result of a very specific kind of pressure being applied to a very specific kind of person. The mess on screen looks spontaneous, but it almost never is.